Closed captioning is brought to you by IT&E Life in Motion. KUAM News Headlines is presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust. Serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson Navigation, serving Guam and Micronesia for 20 years. Cars Plus, Dodge Challenger, the undisputed champion. IP&E, fueling excellence. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurant, located in Tamuning and Dededo. Always open, always local.
I want to make sure that at the end of the day that, my family is protected.
Ahead on primetime, the victim in the KUAM Bakery rape and kidnapping case seeks closure as the suspect returns to court for resentencing. Plus, the vote is in on a pair of measures to fix up the home of the sharks. Issa Baza has reaction from the head of GDOE. And Nestor Lecanto has an update out of the Micronesia Mall after several food vendors were shut down for roach infestation. Half a day and good evening. 5 years later and still no closure for the victim in the KUAM Bakery rape and kidnapping. Although Ray Charles Tatao Camacho was previously ordered to serve life without the possibility of parole, he appealed his sentence and won.
Back in court today, Camacho faces anywhere from 15 years to life with the possibility of parole. At issue, however, is whether he fully cooperated with the government, making him eligible for a more favorable jail term. Did Ray Charles Tatao Camacho lie to investigators? Depends who you ask. According to prosecution, Camacho provided contradictory statements in an interview with investigators. On the stand Friday, Assistant Attorney General Basil O'Malley and investigator Jerome Lorenzo testified they had reason to believe Camacho lied minutes into the interview, specifically when he detailed how he arrived to the scene of the crime. Both government officials report Camacho saying he was dropped to the bakery by Raymond Tatao and Karina Lynn Bloss on their way to the game room. He then says he walked on foot. According to defense attorney Douglas Moylan, the government failed to follow protocol as outlined in their plea agreement. If the government had reason to suspect Camacho was lying, their guidelines allow them to use a polygraph test or hold sentencing 10 days after. Lorenzo on the stand today confirmed Camacho was under the influence of the drug ice at the time of the kidnapping and rape, and that it's possible for someone under the influence to not have a clear recollection of events, stating, quote, he indicated he was high, end quote. Moylan argues his client was more than cooperative, provided details of at least 7 other crimes, and answered each question. On the stand today, again, victim Monique Baza asked the court to consider her and her family. Baza initially agreed to allow her rapist to enter a plea agreement to avoid a lengthy criminal trial. Fast forward 5 years later.
It is a decision that I made with my husband and my family, and unfortunately it did take this long, but I don't regret it. I don't want to feel like I didn't fight long enough or hard enough, or, I want to make sure that whatever I can do to help him stay, like I said in my statement, I feel like he's a danger to society.
Baza cited Camacho's extensive criminal history and that with each crime, he only becomes more violent.
Sentencing is scheduled for July 28th. Well, $20,000 worth of the drug ice wiped off Guam streets following multiple raids this week by the Mandania Drug Task Force, Neighborhood Patrol, and SWAT. Police spokesperson Captain Kim Santos says several search warrants were executed in connection to ongoing illegal drug investigations. Arrested was 31-year-old Anthony Paul Bautista Cadiz of Dededo and 40-year-old Eric Pinala of Agate. Santos says in all 37 pounds of drugs was seized. Both were booked and confined.
He's been in the hospital for months recovering since he was attacked inside the Post 6 Max Security Unit yard area back in March. Now, Justin Meno has been released from the Department of Corrections custody on his own recognizance. A stipulation and order signed off by Superior Court Judge Michael Bordalio today states Meno will be placed under house arrest. He is also ordered to stay away and have no contact with the victims on his robbery case. Jeremiah Shizaki and Albert Santos were charged with attempted murder in the alleged beating of Meno. Meno remains at GMH.
Well, a woman convicted with smuggling 245 grams of the drug ice will spend over 2 years in jail. Mary Ann Contures was sentenced in the District Court of Guam this week. Back in 2013, the 37-year-old arrived in Guam from the Philippines. That's when she was flagged by airport authorities, who received 3 bags with the drugs hidden on the bottom of a DVD box. She's implicated Alvin Padua as her co-conspirator. He was previously sentenced to 7 years in prison.
With the major trial looming, attorneys in the long-running legal dispute between the airport and duty-free shoppers are still locked in battle over documents, testimony, and other discovery of evidence. DFS challenged the airport's award of a lucrative master concessionaire contract to Loti Duty Free in 2013, which DFS had held for several decades prior. DFS was seeking transcripts of meetings by airport board members and legal counsel. In a ruling Monday, Judge Anita Socola approved some motions and denied some motions. Essentially, the judge granted partial summary judgment in favor of DFS regarding certain executive session transcripts, but denied summary judgment for other meetings between airport board members and their attorneys. A trial before Judge Arthur Brasinas is tentatively scheduled for November.
Well, the search for a teen who escaped from the Department of Youth Affairs has ended. DYA officials say the 16-year-old boy self-surrendered to authorities in Agate just before 8 p.m. last night. As we reported, 2 teens escaped DYA's Manila facility Monday afternoon. The first escapee was captured within hours of authorities reporting that the pair had somehow got away. Both now face additional charge of escape.
New documents are filed today in GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez's $7 million lawsuit against the Guam Education Board. The Attorney General's office, which represents the board, submitted a reply in support of dismissing Fernandez's claims. They argue that because Fernandez continued to be paid on administrative leave and was subsequently reinstated, he cannot argue deprivation of property without due process. It's also being argued that there is no evidence the board made public stigmatizing statements about the case, adding if Board Attorney Gary Gumatauto did make these alleged statements, the board cannot be held liable for his actions. Fernandez filed a suit in 2016 against both the GEB and its 6 members alleging due process and 14th Amendment violations. He was reinstated back in March. KUAM reached out to parties to see if settlement discussions were still ongoing. However, no comment as of yet. Meanwhile, a trial date is set for March 5th of next year.
Well, the measures sparked contentious debate in the past few weeks, but senators have finally come to a decision on whether or not to fund additional school repairs.
Both measures passed late this afternoon. Isa Baza has more.
$500,000 on the table. Today, senators voted on bills 87 and 94, both which would provide money to DOE. The money would fund repairs at Simon Sanchez High School, essentially freeing up resources for much-needed repairs at other schools. While summer repairs at the home of the Sharks is already addressed thanks to funding from Adaloop, Superintendent John Fernandez said there are dozens of other schools in need. Legislators stayed past 9 o'clock Thursday night debating the bills on session floor.
It appeared to me that, number one, they wanted clarity on what the additional funds could be used for. So we talked a little bit about things like the asbestos encapsulation in George Washington High School.
Cracks in the asbestos encapsulation have raised concern by school faculty. Other projects include the restoration of the Ocean View Middle D-Wing, air conditioning and door replacements, fence line and canopy repairs, and the demolition of a condemned building at MU Lujan.
We repeatedly ask for these funds. It's not always readily available, and so when it comes down to it, we have to defer these maintenance needs, and that's why the Army Corps of Engineers showed us that over the course of many years, we've got about $90 million of deferred maintenance.
Some senators question whether the funding from the Capital District Fund should instead be retained in line with the fund's purpose, to fund needs at the Capitol building, or to help pay off the building's $4 million loan. Ultimately, senators voted to pass both bills.
So we're very happy that in the course of this debate, the senators have put our students first, and we appreciate that and commit to getting the work done.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Isa Baza.
Weather that we've been getting.
Voting against Bill 87 was Senators Tom Atta, Jim Espeldon, Regine Bisco-Lee, Talina Nelson, and Mary Torres. Voting no for Bill 94 were Senators Frank Uggan Jr., Dennis Rodriguez Jr., and Joe San Agustin.
Well, a list of other measures, now making their way to the governor's office for his signature.
Valerie Maige with the rundown.
There's been an After several days of debate and discussion late into last night, Guam's lawmakers took session floor this afternoon to vote on several bills and passed all bills on this session's agenda. Unanimously passed into law this session was Bill 26, introduced by Senator Talina Nelson, which would extend the timelines and means of notification for the landless purchases on Guam. Also passed this session was Bill 95, which would modernize the island's signage laws. On session floor this week, the bill's author, Senator Mike Nicholas, staunchly defended his bill, saying businesses affected by the AG's decision deeming the signage illegal should not have to suffer because of the government's inability to get its act together. The bill passed with only 3 voting no. Bill 97 was also passed into law, authored by Senator Dennis Rodriguez. It would amend current law with regard to fire codes, building egress, and make the use of sky lanterns on the island illegal. Also passing this afternoon, Bill 69, which would require the Department of Revenue and Taxation to collect fees and issue business licenses for commercial cultivation, manufacturing, lab testing, and dispensing of medical cannabis related to the KC Conception Compassionate Cannabis Use Act of 2013. Bill 93, introduced by Vice Speaker Therese Terlahi, was also passed and would improve parole board processes and prevent the family members of victims from having to relive these violent crimes during parole hearings year after year. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Valerie Maige.
And just before session adjourned, Senator San Nicolas officially submitted his resignation to step down as Committee on Rules chair. This was effective immediately. It was last week San Nicolas said he had accomplished all his goals as the committee chair.
The fight to get tax refunds out faster rolls on, prompting yet another setback and forth between Adelup and Senator Michael San Nicolas.
San Nicolas' Resolution 76 was up for discussion during this week's legislative session. He says it would seek to spread out Section 30 funds to improve the cash flow of GovGuam starting in the third quarter of the fiscal year. San Nicolas stating that means they are asking to have part of these Section 30 funds sooner than anticipated so it can get into the hands of the taxpayers in the form of tax refunds faster. However, the administration responding that San Nicolas' resolution would only delay the payment of tax refunds as well as vendor payments and other obligations. Governor Eddie Calvo adding that this is what happens when you get caught up in the murky depths of politics.
San Nicolas taking on Facebook today, writing, quote, Governor Calvo has complained that the peaks and valleys of GovGuam cash flow make it difficult for him to deposit money into the income tax refund efficient payment trust account. So I'm taking him at his word and attempting to smooth out this cash flow, end quote. He adds his resolution will allow for Guam to get Section 30 through the course of the year instead of the end of the year, thus paying tax refunds. San Nicolas was not at session yesterday and the resolution was passed on file, which means he will now have to wait for another legislative session to speak on the resolution.
Well, speaking of tax refunds, Chris Adelup confirming late today $1.5 million in tax refund checks will be mailed out for those who filed error-free by February 7th.
Stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
There are more ways to experience KUAM News than any other source on Guam. Download the KUAM News app for your Apple or Android device for 24/7 news, sports, videos, weather, streaming of KUAM radio, and important news alerts. And stay connected at home with Guam's first app for Apple TV. All available now from the App Store.
When we face an uncertain path, when we struggle with life's challenges, and when the unexpected happens, it's a beautiful day. We rely on the people we trust, it's a beautiful, who we can always count on. Until ones who give us the most care throughout the years. Rely on Calvo's Select Care to give you the comfort and security you need wherever you are. Calvo's Select Care, health care that's always there for you.
Celebrate more data on the ITV Family Share Plan. Get the amazing Samsung Galaxy S8 and an S7 for just $198 when you bundle your mobile plans on a share plan.
Drive and discover at Guam's best dealership, Cars Plus in Mighty. With Guam's best warranty, there's no better time to drive a Hyundai Accent starting at $11,995 or the Hyundai Elantra starting at $16,995. It's not just newer, it's better. SUV lovers, check out the Hyundai Tucson, J.D. Power's top-ranked small SUV starting at $19,995 or save $4,500 and see the advantages that put the Hyundai Santa Fe at the head of its class. Get to Cars Plus today to drive and discover the quality and value that is Hyundai. Cars Plus, driven by you.
Chuck E. Cheese's Guam is not all fun and games. Our pizza is delicious with the freshest toppings, oven-baked to order. Try the fresh salad bar, sandwiches, and don't forget our mouth-watering wings. Come and eat at Chuck E. Cheese's Guam.
Connect with KUAM News. Find us on your favorite social media platform. Follow us and stay in the know with Guam's news leader.
Welcome back. All of the food stalls at the Micronesia Mall food court, except for the Erie Ring outlet, are open again.
7 of the 21 stalls were shut down by public health for sanitary violations, including roach infestation. 2 of the last 3 passed re-inspection on Friday afternoon. Nestor Lacanto reports.
Micronesia Mall Vice President and Operations Manager Vic Lowe says it was a wake-up call for the 7 vendors who failed inspection, but the perception that the entire food court is roach-infested is mistaken. He says it is the responsibility of each individual food outlet to maintain their operations to public health standards, but the shutdowns did prompt the mall, as the landlord, to become more proactive.
Even though that it is not the primary obligation of management of the mall, we are now going to implement to require them to submit to the mall the certifications, when it was checked, and what is the result of the monitoring.
He says for the most part, the international franchises who abide by corporate required standards stayed open, but it was still a lesson learned for all.
It brought up the proactiveness of policing, helping them to comply with all the requirements that is needed by the Department of Health.
Lowe says he'd like customers to know that food safety is still a top priority.
The safest place to eat is the Micronesia Mall food court.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lacanto.
Well, have you ever dreamed playing a musical instrument or being in a band? Well, you can get a glimpse of what that's like during the second Guam Territorial Band Tour of Instruments at the Guam Museum Saturday. The event allows visitors to see, hear, and use instruments with the guidance of GTB directors and band members.
People can come in and learn how to play them and get a sense of what it's like, and so to hopefully spark interest to, join band.
Museum Program and Education Manager Nicole Duenas said instruments include the flute, clarinet, saxophone, trumpet, and French horn. Chris, why didn't you read this one? The free event is open to the public, but space is limited. To learn more, call 989-4455.
Senior citizens from Sinahaña got a sweet treat today with a performance from the Swing and Blues stars of the USS Hornet. The Bay Area trio performed a selection of World War II and 1940s era music. The group was invited as guest performers for the Guam War Survivors Memorial Foundation's Sentimental Journey 2 concert, which also featured dozens of local singers and musicians who performed on Wednesday in honor of Guam's war survivors.
It will be a first of many for the island and for ISA LGBTQ Guam as they kick off Guam's first Pride exhibit tonight at the Agani Shopping Center. Exhibit coordinator Monica Flores is one of the founding members for ISA Guam, who says tonight is a wonderful showcase of the local LGBTQ community's artwork in the form of paintings, photography, fashion design, collage, mixed media, sculptures, and even ceramics.
It's really an amazing range that represents the local LGBTQ creative community, as well as some pieces from our straight allies and friends who support us and wanted to participate in the event.
Flores says she is thankful for the many sponsors and supporters of ISA Guam and the event itself. The event is happening now at the Agani Shopping Center Expo Hall. That's on the second floor and will run throughout the weekend.
They go wherever the music takes them, and they do it together.
Tonight, we wrap up this month's special series, Color Me Proud, by meeting 2 women who, through their sounds, help spread a positive message to others.
We are musicians, and we are partners.
They are the perfect match. Sharito Soriano and Rowenelyn Conlu found each other 6 years ago through their music.
I actually hyperventilated. She almost had to take me to the hospital.
Both are now living in the Bay Area in California, but maintaining their roots as they both have very close ties to Guam. The couple now goes by the name Astrologic. They share the struggles of coming out.
I was always called a tomboy. You know, and I didn't really know what that meant.
For me, it's relatively new because I was dating men for 26 years, and then out of nowhere I met her, and then that shifted. It was really intense and a little bit scary because I grew up with this mentality of what, you know, how just the social norm, and being, I guess, a Filipino American woman, and you know. My family's very religious as well.
It's like also breaking like these invisible chains that have been like put on you.
Now overcoming that obstacle in their lives, they use their music to inspire others and remind them they don't have to live in fear.
Already just being like women of color on stage is like a huge thing, but on top of that, knowing that we're also together, that we're romantic partners, like they're just like, whoa, what, you know, you're just it's another area of identification for folks who are trying to understand who they are, that they can relate, that, you know, people who are also in the queer community, they can feel comfortable
and feel happy together as they continue to spread love with their tunes. Thank you to everyone who shared their stories this month for Pride Month. Happy Pride.
And coming up in sports, the Dial Rent-to-Own Athlete of the Week. But first, here's weather.
What can I say? My family was tired of seeing red from internet data caps. We switched to GTA and life is good again. Sure, it took a bit of time for some of us to adjust to our newfound internet freedom.
Don't turn off the show. How does it end?
Relax, honey. The data limits are gone. You can watch the whole show now.
But we're all happy with the change, and I think it's even earned me some cool points.
You rock, Mom.
That's right. It's getting lit up in here. How about that?
Okay. So I need to finish this homework now.
Okay, I'm done.
My son, though, he's in the midst of a serious rebellion.
Rebelling against an alien invasion, that is. Oh, yeah.
Free yourself. Switch to GTA Home Internet today. Truly unlimited with no data caps or additional usage fees.
Reduce your energy costs with GPA's Energy Sense program. Energy Sense provides cash rebates with the purchase of qualified energy-efficient air conditioners, washers, and dryers that help reduce your energy usage. Contact GPA today at 647-5787, 8 or 9 to learn more about Energy Sense and other ways to help reduce your monthly energy usage and save money by using energy more efficiently. For more Energy Sense saving ideas, visit GuamPowerAuthority.com or like us on Facebook. Energy Sense makes good sense.
For 20 years, Matson has been an important part of our everyday lives. Bringing in the cars we drive, the food we eat, and the materials that helped build our homes. From caring for our land through the Adaki Itano program to generously supporting our local charities, Matson has contributed to the preservation and growth of our island. On behalf of those you've served throughout your 20 years on Guam, Kita Smaasi Matson.
Hey, I thought you were choosing the flute.
Everyone's doing flute.
Buick now has an SUV for that.
Where's your brother?
Hey, Mom, it's a tuba.
Buick Enclave, one of 3 luxury SUVs from the new Buick.
See your Buick dealer and get over $6,000 total value on select 2017 Buick Enclave leather vehicles in stock. Visit AutoSpot Buick today.
KUAM Sports is presented by Triple J.
What's up, Guam? Dave Delgado here for KUAM Sports. Thanks for watching. On the show tonight, co-ed basketball highlights from the Tamuning Gym along with some Little League baseball. But you know how we do it every Friday, our Darrenton Athlete of the Week with Chris Malafunction.
Friday business, woohoo! Dalrento and Monkey Town are athletes of the week this week from Team Guam girls softball, the U16ers. We have Chandra and Amani. Congratulations, girls.
Thank you.
And my man Bradley here from Dalrento with a special message for the girls.
Congratulations on winning the Dalrento Athlete of the Week. Would you like to present this check to?
We're going to be donating to Guam Little League.
Well, there you go. The U16 Team Guam girls softball, kind of like a all-star softball team made up of players from all the different schools on island. Represented the island out in Singapore. They couldn't chew gum out there in Singapore, and they were able to beat Indonesia. Amani, how was it going out to represent Guam out in Singapore, of all places?
It was a really great experience, and the whole team had fun, just bonding, and yeah.
Let's talk about that bonding, Chandra. You guys come from a lot of different schools. What was it like practicing and training together and playing as one unit out there in Singapore?
It all felt really natural, like we all bonded really good, and I think the trip, it made us connect even more, and we got a lot closer.
So like every night was like girls' night?
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah.
And so you guys were able to beat powerhouse Indonesia. What was that feeling like when you guys came away with a W in that game of money?
It was really nice, but something happened, and yeah, it was good winning because it was really hot out there. Yeah.
And what happened? What's this something that happened?
I hit a line drive to the pitcher, and she started to cry, and her whole team.
Did you tell her there's no crying in softball?
I actually cried.
Chandra, the Philippines won the tournament, but you guys were the only team that actually scored against the champions. Let's talk a little bit about that.
I don't really know. Like, we just rallied back really hard in the dugout. It all starts in the dugout. Like, if you don't cheer in there, you're not going to, like, hit and make runs and stuff, so.
Well, there you go. Let's give a big hand here to the Team Guam U16 girls softball.